All right. And one of the people I know who actually spends a great deal of her time in the Big Apple, actually, she spends her time in a lot of cities, and maybe now you understand why I tell you, leave the city and come to the rural parts of the country where you're safer. How you doing, Ann Coulter?
You're totally right. New Yorkers and Los Angelinos all seem to be fleeing to Florida. Just make sure they stay in a 2-week quarantine.
Yeah, and make sure they don't bring their voting habits with them either. That's important.
Yeah, I know. I've noticed that. I've been haranguing some of my New York friends who've gone to, also in addition to Florida, going to Georgia. And I keep having to remind them, these are Democrats. I know you hate Republicans, but you have just fled this state because of everything you hate about the Democrats. Do not keep voting for Democrats. No, it's a real danger.
Yeah, it is. Now, I love this article that you wrote because, racism has lost all meaning. And certainly, once they started saying that we can no longer call this the China virus or the Wuhan virus or anything else, I knew we were headed down this is going to be all about racism thing. But you pointed out, Andrew Cuomo has taken this to new levels.
Yes, I would have let the first press conference go, but when he started calling it the European virus so neurotically, obsessively in press conference after press conference, I just think it's worth pointing out that identity politics is the be-all, end-all of the Democratic Party now. And for any longtime Democrats who may think you're voting to tax the rich or punish Wall Street. Oh, no. The Democrats are fine with Wall Street. It's pedal to the metal, anti-white in particular. I mean, this has nothing to do with, compensating for Jim Crow or slavery. No, it's become weirdly, narrowly focused on hating white historic America. The Chinese, it's not as good as black, but it's not white. It's not white. So let's blame this virus on Europeans. And at first I just made that point, and I went on to another point. I went back and rewrote the column yesterday because I realized a lot of people, probably not including most of your listeners, but a lot of people won't know what I'm talking about because until someone points this out to you, you often don't notice all kinds of weird trends going on. And so I went through some other examples. I mean, the media's weird celebrations whenever a refugee is elected to some local council. And the headlines are always, overcoming vicious internet trolls, overcoming racism. People who run for office tend to get nasty Facebook posts, tweets, and emails. This is not a new development. Right. That's point one. Point two, do we have like a 200-year legacy of suppressing refugee talent and keeping them off the local town council? No, they just got here. What is this big celebration? It's just journalists take such a delight in sticking a finger in the eye of historic white America. There's just, example after example of this. The fact that the New York Times kept on Sarah Jong. You remember this, though you may have forgotten about it recently because, these stories, they get a little outburst of publicity in the conservative press, and then they get memory hold. Sarah Jong, South Korean, brought to this country after we fought a war to liberate her people from the likes of North Korea and Kim Jong-il. She just had the most vicious, stunningly racist tweets about whites. How it's unbelievable how much pleasure I get being cruel to old white men and old white men or whites tweeting. It's like going around urinating, a dog urinating on fire hydrants. Cancel the white people. Just on and on and on. You can't imagine this being said about ethnic group. And the New York Times defiantly, nope, we're keeping her. Nope, she's staying on staff at the New York Times. We don't see any problem with these tweets. I mean, this is the identity politics and hating white America is the number one cause and movement of the Democratic Party, and that's what explains Andrew Cuomo's obsession with calling this virus absurd, the European virus. I mean, his claim is, which may well be true. I gather some virologists looked at the particular coronavirus in New York and said that it mostly landed on planes at JFK and Newark coming in from Europe. Well, New York has a lot more, it's on the East Coast, it has a lot more people flying in from Europe than it does flying in from China. Although I will say, up until shut the flights down, there were direct flights from Wuhan to Newark. So I don't think all the virus in New York came from Europe. In any event, that's not the point. The virus didn't originate in Europe. The Europeans who brought it in flying from, Milan to JFK, they caught it from visitors coming in from China. Even the New York Times admits it has a long, description. It's actually a pretty cool interactive map. I think I linked to it in my column, showing how it went out from Wuhan to Chinese cities to Japan, Bangkok, Singapore, and then slowly made its way to Europe and America. It started in Wuhan. We know it started in Wuhan. You don't refer to the last transmitter as the source of the disease, or we could call it the Chris Cuomo virus. He got coronavirus, and then, lo and behold, his wife and son got coronavirus. So he was the last transmitter. It's this Chris Cuomo virus. This virus we got from Chris Cuomo. How about that? No, it doesn't make any sense. But it is all part of the identity politics of the left. What they love more than anything else is hating historic white America.
And it's become their hypocritical attitudes about this really are what's so stunning, because, like you said, if you just substitute any other race or ethnicity or religion with the word white, you would be banished from Twitter. Facebook would close your account, and we're watching it happen day and night. I mean, poor Larry Elder, he's got a movie coming out, apparently, that's called Uncle Tom, and somebody commented on Twitter about the upcoming movie and was banned. I mean, the police, the thought police are just out there, and they're going to tell you what you're...
Well, not only that, if you do the reverse, if the things, for example, Sarah Jones tweeted about white people, forget the banning and the canceling from social media. I mean, yes, they jump on things like a movie by Larry Elder, but people like you and me would condemn it.
Yeah,
we'd say, what are you doing here? You're not part of my movement. We're not friends. Mm-hmm. We're not allies in this. These are ugly, nasty tweets. Mm-hmm. But that's not how the Democratic Party and their supporters respond to Sarah Jones' tweets. Oh no, they're fabulous. They're so edgy.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, listen, you can watch, guys like James Carville get on television and, say, we got to get rid of these old white men, as he sits there, an old white man. But that's the only way he's going to be accepted in the crowd that he runs in. Look, right now.
I have noticed this. The left takes the word white. And they just throw it in at random. It's an evil intensifier, like MSG in your food. And one of the weirdest examples was Hillary during the campaign and since the campaign, talking about Trump's fondness for white authoritarians around the world. And it just sort of stops you in your tracks, and you think, now, wait a second, if I look across the globe, are there any dictators in Africa? Why, yes, Joyce, I think there are. Are there any dictators in the Muslim world? Oh, chock-a-block, pretty much nothing else. Any dictators in Asia? Why, gosh, that is a continent that has lots of dictators. Right. So who are we talking about? Right. All these white dictators? Putin.
Yeah, that's it, really. You're absolutely right. And look, today, the VP/candidate for the nomination was on a show in New York with Charlemagne. It was a black host. And Joe Biden said, "You ain't black if you back Trump." Now, think about that for a minute. If Donald Trump were to say, anything like that regarding any group of people, it would be the above the fold in the New York Times. You're not going to hear about this except on alternative websites.
It also shows just this evil plan of the Democrats now, 30 years in the making, something you and I were among the few to recognize going back some time. And that is their plot with immigration to turn this into a country that will never elect another Republican president, that will turn state after state into California, the state that gave us Ronald Reagan and Richard Nixon, now won't elect Republicans statewide. You know, you couldn't have a statewide dog catcher who's Republican out there. What is that? Did Democrats, change people's minds with their clever arguments, their brilliant campaigns? No, they brought in new people to vote for them. That's what they're doing. That's what they're turning this country into. Not their social interests, not their economic interests. They don't go to, town hall debates and compare the two candidates. Get a printout of the an issues paper. Let's see, which candidate do I agree with? No, it's, you're Hispanic, you have to vote Democrat. How dare you not vote Democrat? You're black, you have to vote Democrat. We're down to the only group in America that ever votes majority Republican are white voters. Part of the reason they're so hated by the Democratic Party, and the Democratic Party is trying to cancel all white voters and overwhelm them. This really, electorally, this makes a big difference. But if you point out that Virginia has now gone the way of California, New Mexico, Nevada, state after state, this is happening in, and people on our side are attacked for merely pointing out what the Democrats' plan is, which they've come out and told us. They've been warning us of this for decades. Ha ha ha! This is George McGovern's revenge. Roy Teixeira, the big political consultant from Texas, called it 30 years ago. He wrote a book about majority. And what was that coming Democratic majority based on? Bringing in new people to vote for the Democrats.
Yeah. Hey, look, I've never heard of a party making a declaration and it being applauded that they were going to rule out half of the people in the country for a possible, appointment as the VP candidate. They were going to eliminate people based on their genitals and the color of their skin. This is a whole new world to me, Ann.
Yes, I remember when Biden said that. It was only a month or two ago. But when he said that during the debate, that was one of the most jaw-dropping things I've ever heard during a debate. A pledge to to pick a female vice president, which, by the way, most people forget this. Sanders turned in pledge. He's not going to be out identity politics by Joe Biden. No.
Right.
It's crazy.
It is crazy, but hey, you can sum it all up in the fact that they have been so emboldened that you got the Nation columnist Katha Pollitt today saying she would vote for Joe Biden if he boiled babies and ate them. I don't think there's anything we can add to that.
Yeah, particularly looking at these videos of Joe Biden.
Yeah.
They could be. I don't think this is good for them. And I still think there's a possibility that the Democrats will realize we cannot run this senile dementia patient. We may have the Catholics of the world, but we need to get some normal people. And when they see that this guy is senile, that is why his vice presidential pick is so important.
Right.
Probably not a good idea to limit it to half the population, half the population of Democrats. You're down to a very small number of people. It has to be, a certain age in order to be president. You have to be not only a Democrat, but working in politics. You're already down to, what is it, 30 people, 60 people maybe who are governors or lieutenant governors or even a congressman. How many people could that possibly encompass? And then you're just going to off the top, and I'm only going to pick half of those, only the women.
Right. Only the women, only the women of color. But hey, Ann, these are strange times. You staying safe? You wearing your mask?
Well, I'm a big mask wearer from way back, at least on airplanes, but not outside, not biking.
Okay.
I do think masks are great in closed, confined spaces. And one other little tip. This is totally worth the interview. Although usually I say for your entertainment dollar, you want to watch MSNBC. Yesterday, and I suspect today, CNN obsession with Trump not wearing a mask was one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
Yes, it definitely was. I agree. Stay safe. Thanks so much for coming on. Always appreciate it.
Good to talk to you, Joyce. Bye-bye.
All right. Visit our website, AnnCoulter.com.